What's up, guys? Carter here, back with Odd Dog Gaming, and today we're going to be taking a look at Wolcen, Lords of Mayhem. Now, Wolcen came out about 2-3 weeks ago. So Wolcen is actually created by a game studio called Wolcen Studios, and it's only for PC. It's an ARPG, and it's been in development for the past 4 years with a Kickstarter project. It's running off the CryEngine, which actually isn't a pretty bad engine. There's several other games that's been out there that's pretty well known. It's also been used in games like Prey and Monster Hunter Online. Now, in Monster Hunter Online, the graphics were pretty good. I mean, other than mechanical issues with people movement and stuff of that nature. But as for the monsters and the worlds that were there, they actually looked really beautiful. So you can kind of expect the same kind of lighting and colors in this game as well. And trust me, it's all there. So let's take a look in the first category we're going to cover, which is actually graphics. Now, those that are new to Odd Dawn Gaming, we work with a 5-category system. Each category has 20 points that the game can get, adding up to a total of 100 points. So let's see how they do with graphics. Alright, so like I said, they have CryEngine, and from what I can tell, they put a lot of time and effort into this game. The lighting and the shading and just the colors that pop in certain areas look really good. And for a game that's coming out in 2020, it's on par, if not better. Now, we all know, we've all seen the trailer for Beyond Good and Evil 2, and that game looks amazing just from the trailers. So anyways, that aside, the graphics on this are pretty phenomenal, provided you have a PC that can keep up with what the game recommends, especially with the frame rates. I currently just use anywhere from 30 to 45, and it seems to do just fine. So as for scoring with the graphics, I would definitely put it up there, well over halfway mark. So we're going to give it probably about a 14. And it's not the best graphics in the world, but they are really good, and they're pretty on par with all the games that's coming out this year and even last year. So I feel like 14 is a really good number for them, and 14 out of 20 is not bad. So on the second category, we have story. Now, this is a part I was actually really looking forward to, because I've played Diablos, and they have a really good story. You know the lore, you know kind of what's happening. Even if you jumped into 3, you didn't have to know what was happening in 2 or 1 to understand the story. But in Wolcen, they seem to kind of just leave you hanging. I mean, it opens up with a small cutscene, and you're not really sure what's going on. I mean, the first part has a small battle, if you will, and you're a part of it, but at the same time, you're going on a separate track, and like, you have this massive forces moving through with soldiers, and you kind of want to, like, okay, well, we need to go fight. Oh, okay, well, you're getting ambushed. Well, let's go this way. And it's a very linear story, and it's not the greatest fleshed out story that's out there. I mean, if you're comparing it to, say, Witcher or Mass Effect series, of course it's not going to stand. It's some of the best storytelling in gaming. But keeping it with a comparable game, I'm just going to stick with the Diablo series, and it's just not on par. So far, I've put in about 40 hours into the game, and just the initial 5 to 10 hours of playing, if you're a story person like me, I love a good story, and that's one of the things that keeps me going in a game. It definitely doesn't pull you along. For me, I wasn't wanting to continue playing for the story. I was wanting to continue playing for what loot might drop, or what boss comes up and I want to fight, or just the leveling system, which we'll get to here in a minute. But there's nothing drastic about the story. It really feels like they had a good idea. They had a lot of elements that they wanted to put in there. It could have been, in my opinion, a lot more fleshed out and a lot more lore put into this. That's what makes a good story. You know, you have a backstory that explains everything. You're not having to learn as you go so much beyond the need, and it just doesn't really hold up to even modern games, or, let's be honest, some platformers. But with that, the story score on here is going to be pretty low. I'd give it probably a 9. It's decent. It's well enough to keep you involved in it, but it's not something that's going to pull you through if another element of the game doesn't hold your attention. The story isn't going to keep you going. On to the third category, which is world map or world design. Now, in a game like this, you're looking for how big something can be within the world. You're looking for a lot of the backdrops, like how far in the distance are those, or How big is the area that you're exploring? How many areas are you exploring? And all those go into consideration. Now, on this one, on Wolcen here, they've done a really good job with compacting a lot of stuff into a small area. When you're going through these levels, it looks a lot bigger than what it is, but that can be a good thing because there's so much stuff for you to do, mainly just enemies to kill, but there's just so many enemies within that level. You're constantly having to fight, you're constantly having to look to the next target. But one thing that I actually really liked about this part was the additional dungeons you can do, and I'm using the term dungeon very loosely here, because the only thing you can see is like a little stair icon and on your map, and when you go down in there, it's just another section of map. Say you're in the catacombs, well, it's going to be another section, maybe with catacombs or a cave. So it's all based on what area you're in. So I really like that. They took a lot of detail into this with not rehashing level designs, kind of like, say, Dragon Age 2, where you had multiple areas where you go into a dungeon or a cave or whatever, and you would experience it the first time. It's like, okay, that's pretty cool. Let's do another one. And you go into another one, and it's the exact same damn map. In Wolcen, you're not going to get that. Everything is generated. It's all random, and I have not experienced the same dungeon twice. But back to just the world itself, it's just a very pretty world. I mean, the decayed buildings you see, all the destroyable objects you have, there's a lot of detail in the world. It kind of just makes everything come alive a little more. So for the score, I'm going to give it a 16 out of 20, which is very good. Granted, if you have 4 years of development, it better be good. But at the same time, they're also a Kickstarter developer. And I'll take away from that, it just really shows the amount of attention to detail they put into this game to make sure it's really good. So kudos to them. So our next category focuses on leveling and gameplay. And I'm just going to go straight off the bat here. Their perk system, their perk tree, has got to be one of the best, if not most innovative I have ever played. It's a 3-ringed wheel. You have your ring on the outside, ring in the middle, and then your center wheel. And each one of those can be turned, creating a multitude of different trees you can experiment with and create your own diverse character. I know that's really common in RPGs, but this perk system is just insane. There's so many different ways you can go. Whether you want to go to strength build, agility build, or just complete spells and all that, you're going to be able to do what you want. Or if you want to mix them, you can do it. You want to make a multi-class character, you can do it. I've got to play around with this a lot, and it's really cheap to actually respect your character. So that's a plus. So you just keep trying out different things. I would highly recommend that. On the classes side, you got 3 classes to choose from at the very beginning, and I would say personally it doesn't really matter which one you choose, because of your perk system, the little perk tree wheel, the gates of fate, as they call it, you're going to be able to do whatever you want. And as for actually leveling your character and choosing different points to go into each category, there's 4 different categories, and you get 10 points to choose from, and you can put them in each category. Say you want 2 in agility, 2 in ferocity, stuff of that nature. You're going to be able to go whichever route you want. I personally went heavily on endurance, so I want a lot of health. I like having a lot of health in my character. That way I can stay in fights longer. As for items, there are a ton of items in this game. And for good reason, because you have your helmet, your belt, your chest, 2 gauntlets you can put on, along with 2 rings, an amulet, boots, and pants. Yeah, pants. Gotta need pants. And you have 2 weapon slots. Normally, if you have a sword, you can equip a shield. You have your staffs, your bows, your daggers, stuff of that nature. If you've played any Diablo game, you'll be familiar with all the weaponry in there. And it's got your usual rarity levels. So you got your commons, your uncommons, your rares, your legendaries. Right here I had a legendary pop, and that was actually my first one after about 10 hours of play, and I was happy, but it was just a mediocre axe. But you do get legendaries for completing quests. I think just before this I got a legendary chess piece. The only downside to this part, I would say, is there's too much loot. It's like every time you kill something or every time you break open a crate, a piece of loot drops. And it's a blue or it's a yellow. And I'm constantly looking over it. I'm clicking it, having to pick it up, go into my inventory, look at what it is. I mean, occasionally I'll go through and I'll pick up 5, 6, 7, sometimes 10 items. And the majority of times I'll look at it and just throw it away or sell it. But there's no shortage of loot. I promise you that. You're going to find plenty of it in this game, which is a huge bonus. As for customizing, you're going to have your normal create your character build. Not so much with the face. I think you have a few presets you can do, which are fine. I mean, they don't look horrible, but you can't make your character look hideous either, so I guess it's a plus. There's plenty of dyes out there you'll get. I picked up at least 10 in the first 2 hours, 3 hours, and personally, I just don't really use dyes, but I know a lot of people like customization, so if you're into that, I want my stuff to look all the same in the same color, you'll get plenty of it. As for attacks and skills that you can use, your skills level up individually, and they have different perks that they have that you can add to each skill. So if you're familiar with Diablo again, you're going to be able to upgrade your skills. Although this one in Wolcen is a lot more detailed. You have a lot more to choose from. There's well over 15 perks to each skill, and there are so many skills in this one. You actually have vendors you can buy skills from, which is really neat addition. I thought it was really good for them to kind of like, okay, well, you didn't find your skill in that playthrough. Here, you can buy one, because that's how you get your skills. You kill an enemy and it drops an item that you click on and it'll give you a new skill. You can definitely tell that they put a lot of emphasis on creating your own individual, unique character, going all the way from your perks to your items, your customization. They really want you to create your own individual experience and play the way you want to play. So as for the score on this, we're going to give it a solid 14. We're pretty happy with the way the perk system is, and that scored huge. But the leveling system, where you have your 4 choices to choose from, can be a little daunting if you're new to RPGs and you're not used to, if it's not just strength, health, agility, wisdom, dexterity, attributes such like that, you're not really going to see in Wolcen, which can get a little confusing if you're not used to it, but you'll figure it out. It's not too hard. As for customizing, we would have liked to seen a little more customization with your personal character. Even though you don't really see their face often, they do pop up in a little icon in the bottom when you have text that's on the bottom of the little subtitles. Your character does pop up there, so it would be nice to see just what you created instead of just a little template. Although I understand the camera's pointing down the whole time, so you don't really see the face. It's a little petty, but something we'd rather see. On to our final category, we're going to go with replay. We're not going to beat around the bush on this one. It's getting an 8. Its replayability is pretty low in our opinion. You're going to run through it once, and there's not too much to do at the end, unless you just want to run around getting loot and just trying to make your character the most badass character you can get. You're going to lose interest very quickly. So that gives us a total score of 61. Now, if you're like me, that's an F. But on this score, it's not that bad. I mean, a lot of things we're going to grade isn't going to hit 100. Nothing's going to hit 100. I don't see anything ever hitting 100. Maybe a 95, not 100. And really only had 2 categories that were weak. You had story and replay. Although it did really well with graphics, with the world and world building. It had great leveling systems with the perks mainly, and an alright customization. Fighting in it was really good. So really ultimately it comes down to, is it worth spending your time with? And personally, yeah, it's only $30 on Steam. If you're looking for a quick RPG to play, just something to kind of pass the time with, that's enjoyable, that's pretty, I think it's well worth the $30. Especially since it took them 4 years. Yeah, throw them a bone. Yeah, buy it, play it, enjoy it. Who knows, you may actually disagree with us and think it's worth an 80 or 90 even. Shoot, we can be wrong. But nevertheless, we hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider liking and subscribing. This is a new channel. We're trying to get it up off the ground. And if you have any tips and suggestions, please let us know down below in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. This is Carter with Odd Dawn Gaming. Have a good day.